Sophia raised her glass, the crowd roaring with laughter as Ryan draped his arm over her shoulder, like he'd owned her forever. They all called it fate, they called it a fairy tale ending. But standing in the corner, I saw every lie woven into her smile. Deborah slipped past me with a smirk, whispering that I looked pathetic, that maybe I should get over it, that Sophia was never mine to keep. The room blurred at the edges as I swallowed the acid burning my throat, every breath scraping against the truth she'd thrown in my face this morning. She said I was small, insignificant, a placeholder until someone better came along. She didn't flinch when I said nothing. She never believed I could be anything more than the man who paid her bills, built her plans, kept her secrets. But as Ryan kissed her cheek and the crowd screamed approval, my phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from my lawyer. It's done, her company is yours. My pulse thudded like war drums under my skin. They didn't know I'd spent months building the net they would all fall into. They didn't see me collect every thread of Sophia's stolen empire, every backroom deal, every forged contract she thought buried. I let them celebrate, let them toast her name, let them think I'd disappeared quietly into humiliation. They didn't know I'd bought the stage they stood on, the lights that blinded them, the company hosting this pathetic show. Sophia caught my eye across the room, smirking, as if daring me to speak, to crumble in front of everyone. I smiled back. She'd never see me raise my voice. She'd never hear me plead. But tomorrow, when the documents hit every news outlet, when Ryan realized the woman he chose had nothing left, when Deborah's precious gossip empire went up in smoke, Sophia would search for me in the ashes, and I would be gone, vanished into the silence she mocked, carrying away every last piece of powder she thought was hers. Welcome to story heaven, where every betrayal turns into silent revenge and leaves you wanting more. Watch the story till the end and let us know in the comments how you felt about it and what kind of stories you want to see in the future. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. Your support means the world to us. My name is John, and until 6 months ago, I believed that love, real love, was enough to survive anything. I believed it was stronger than ambition, stronger than greed, stronger even than the casual cruelty I saw in the world every day. I clung to that belief like a drowning man clings to driftwood, because without it, I had nothing left but the empty apartment where Sophia's perfume still clung to the curtains, where the echo of her laughter still bounced off the walls. We met 3 years ago at a corporate networking event. I was managing operations for a mid-tier logistics firm, tired of the endless grind, the shallow conversations, the polite smiles masking sharpened teeth. Sophia stood out instantly, bright, animated, a voice like music that wrapped itself around everyone in the room. Her hair was pinned back in a sleek twist, revealing the elegant line of her neck, the glimmer of a simple gold chain that caught the light whenever she turned. She moved like someone who knew everyone was watching and loved it. But when she found me leaning against the back wall, nursing a glass of cheap wine, she drifted over with a curious smile. Her first words weren't the typical icebreakers I'd grown accustomed to. "Why do you look like you'd rather be anywhere but here?" she asked, laughing softly, as though she already knew the answer. That laugh, it pulled me in before I even realized I was falling. Sophia was warmth, possibility, promise. She told me later that she loved how serious I was, how quietly capable. She said she was tired of empty bravado and fake charm, that she wanted someone real, someone strong. I wanted to believe her. So I let her in. In the beginning, it was perfect. We'd cook together in my small kitchen, dance barefoot on the cold tiles when the radio played something soft. She liked to talk about the future, about the company she wanted to build, the brand she wanted to grow. She wanted to make something big enough to swallow the world, and she told me I'd be at her side through it all. I watched her chase every opportunity like a storm, demanding meetings with executives, weaving herself into high-level circles, turning charm into currency with frightening ease. And I was her quiet anchor, the man who answered late-night calls when deals fell through, who brought her dinner when she forgot to eat, who read over contracts and flagged hidden loopholes. She called me her secret weapon. At first, I didn't see the cracks, or maybe I did, but I wanted so badly for the dream to be real that I painted over them with excuses. When she cancelled dates at the last minute, I told myself it was just business. When she ignored my messages for days, I told myself she was overwhelmed. The first time I caught her out with Ryan, she brushed it off with a laugh. "He's just a client," she said, kissing my temple lightly. "Don't be paranoid. I wanted to believe her. But Ryan wasn't just a client, he was a stepping stone, a piece in the puzzle Sophia was building, and eventually, the man she'd choose to display beside her as she stood on top of the mountain she climbed over my back. Deborah came later. At first, she was just Sophia's friend, a hanger-on, someone who fed off Sophia's energy, gathering gossip, spreading Sophia's name through every back channel she could find. She was the one who suggested Sophia throw bigger parties, flashier events. She said that power was only real when people could see it, feel it radiating off you. I saw the way she looked at me, the quiet contempt in her eyes. She never thought I belonged in Sophia's world, and maybe she was right. Sophia once told me I was too soft, that I cared too much what people thought. That in this world, you either learn to break others or you spent your life cleaning up after the ones who did. I didn't answer her then, I just kept working, quietly, building her empire from behind the scenes, blind to the fact that the moment I'd outlived my usefulness, she'd sweep me aside like so much dust. Ryan was everything I wasn't. Loud, confident, brash. He walked into any room like he owned it, demanded attention without even trying. He was quick with a compliment, quicker with a threat, the kind of man who kept score with everyone. Sophia adored him. I don't know exactly when their affair began, I only know the day she stopped looking me in the eye when I asked if she was happy. That morning, she'd come home late, hair mussed, perfume sharper than usual. She didn't offer an explanation, didn't make excuses. When I asked if she still loved me, she just smiled, brushing a hand across my cheek. "Don't be weak," she said. "This is the way the world works." And that was it. The moment I knew the person I'd sacrificed everything for wasn't the woman I thought I loved. I didn't rage, I didn't scream. I simply nodded, turned away, and began gathering every scrap of leverage I'd ever quietly hidden, every dirty deal she'd whispered into my ear on those sleepless nights. Because Sophia was wrong. The world wasn't about breaking others, it was about knowing exactly when to disappear, exactly when to let someone think they'd won, exactly when to let their arrogance turn the knife themselves. So I let her show me off like a trophy while she planned my replacement. I let Deborah mock me, thinking she was clever. I let Ryan gloat in private, certain he'd bested me. I smiled, I waited, and I planned. Because if Sophia wanted the world to see her triumph, I would make sure they saw her fall. And when the dust cleared, the only name on their lips would be mine. Sophia's betrayal didn't begin with one grand moment, no cinematic revelation, no dramatic confrontation. It started with Esme. Ill things, an unreturned call, a half-truth about a meeting, a shift in the way her eyes slid past me when Ryan walked into the room. It built slowly, like rust under paint, until one morning, I found a receipt tucked in her purse for a hotel I'd never heard of. She claimed it was a business meeting, that Ryan needed her advice on a new contract. I didn't argue, I just nodded, kissed her cheek, and left for work. That night, when she was out, I scrolled through her messages on the tablet she always left behind, claiming she hated clutter in her pockets. The password was still the same, my birthday. A part of me broke when I saw it. A bigger part of me wanted to laugh at the stupidity of holding on to something so sentimental while quietly tearing me apart piece by piece. The messages were all there, Ryan telling her he'd booked the room, Sophia telling him to wait until after the speech so no one suspected, Deborah chiming in with snide commentary assuring Sophia that I was too soft to ever fight back. The walls of the apartment felt like they were closing in, the echoes of every conversation I'd had with her bouncing back at me, each memory twisting into a fresh wound. I wanted to throw the tablet across the room, to break something, to scream. But I didn't. I placed it back exactly where I found it, wiped the screen with my sleeve, and turned off the lights. In the silence, I felt the shift inside me. Something old, something weak, something hopeful, died. In its place grew a cold certainty that I would not let her define the ending of my story. The next morning, I made breakfast as usual. Sophia walked into the kitchen, hair still damp from the shower, her phone in hand. She kissed my cheek absent-mindedly, never noticing the slight tremor in my hands. "Deborah says Ryan might stop by tonight," she murmured. "Don't be weird about it, okay? He just wants to talk about the new marketing rollout." I nodded. "Sure, whatever you need." She smiled, satisfied, and breezed out the door. I sat at the table long after she left, staring at the cold eggs on my plate. Outside, the city hummed with life, cars honking, people shouting, a world oblivious to the fact that my heart had been ripped open and left to bleed quietly on the floor. Ryan arrived that evening with a bottle of wine and a smirk that barely faded even when he shook my hand. Deborah tagged along, claiming she was there to take notes on the marketing plan. Sophia looked radiant, her laughter ringing out bright and clear as they joked about old times. I watched them from across the room, every word carving deeper into me. They didn't even bother hiding it anymore. Deborah whispered to Sophia that maybe she should get rid of me sooner rather than later, that dragging out the act was cruel. Sophia just smiled. Ryan leaned back in his chair, studying me like I was an insect under glass. "John, you're really quiet tonight," he drawled. I shrugged. "Nothing to say." He smirked. "That's what I like about you. You know when to stay in your place." I smiled faintly, gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. "Right, my place." They didn't notice when I excused myself, slipping into the hallway to check the hidden recorder I'd planted earlier in the day. Every word they said tonight would be mine by morning. When I returned, Sophia was perched on Ryan's lap, whispering something into his ear, while Deborah giggled behind her hand. I kept my face blank, my expression mild, while inside, my chest burned with a fury so cold it felt like ice. The night dragged on, each second stretching into an eternity. Finally, Ryan stood, tugging Sophia up with him. "We'll get out of your hair," he said, grinning like a wolf. "See you at the big meeting tomorrow, John. You're coming, right? Sophia needs her good little assistant." I met his eyes, steady, unblinking. Wouldn't miss it for the world. They left without a second glance, Deborah trailing behind, tossing a careless wave over her shoulder. The door clicked shut behind them, and I exhaled slowly. The apartment was silent again, empty and cold. I walked into the bedroom and opened the safe in the closet. Inside were the files I'd been gathering for months, emails, contracts, financial statements. Everything Sophia had been hiding from the world, every crooked deal Ryan had arranged behind the scenes, every whisper Deborah had sold to the competition. I slid the latest recording into the folder and locked the safe again. Tomorrow, at the meeting, Sophia would unveil her new marketing plan, the one she'd stolen from me piece by piece over the past year. Tomorrow, Ryan would stand beside her, smug and confident, thinking he'd won. Tomorrow, Deborah would be ready to spread the story of Sophia's triumph across every social feed, every whisper network, every corporate boardroom. And tomorrow, I would take it all away from them. Not with shouting, not with violence, not with public spectacle, but with quiet, undeniable truth. The day Sophia thought she'd crush me into dust was the day she'd watch me walk away with every piece of power she believed was hers. Because revenge doesn't need noise, it only needs precision, and I was done playing the fool. Every night after Sophia fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the cracks in the ceiling, listening to the sound of her breathing. Once, that sound had comforted me, proof that I wasn't alone, that someone was there beside me when the world shut me out. Now it was a reminder of everything I'd lost, of everything I'd given up to stand by her side. It was enough to love someone completely and expect the same in return. Sleep never came easy anymore. The second I closed my eyes, memories crashed in, her laughter when she leaned into Ryan's shoulder, the warmth in her voice when she called him by the pet names she once used for me, the soft sigh of relief in her voice when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I tried to tell myself it didn't matter, that I was stronger than the jealousy, stronger than the gut-deep ache of knowing she never really wanted me, but each time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile, heard Ryan's smug voice, felt Deborah's mocking laughter curling around my neck like a noose. During the day, I put on a mask, I went to meetings, shook hands, signed papers, I answered Sophia's calls, played the part of the loyal partner, the quiet man in the background. I'd spent so long building her up, laying foundations brick by brick while she smiled for the cameras and pretended it was all her doing. I didn't let her see the cracks, I didn't let her see the truth burning behind my eyes. But inside, I was unraveling. Some nights, I sat on the balcony staring down at the city lights, remembering the first time I brought Sophia here. She'd leaned over the rail, arms wide, face tilted up to the sky, declaring that one day, the whole world would belong to her. Back then, I'd believed her, I'd believed in us. I'd been a fool. She was never satisfied. No matter how much I gave her, my time, my love, my energy, she wanted more. She wanted new faces, new adoration, new men to whisper how perfect she was. And Ryan was the perfect distraction, brash, ambitious, shameless. The kind of man who would do anything to climb higher, even if it meant stepping on the people who built the ladder for him. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. Every smile Sophia flashed at him was a dagger, every careless touch a slap to the face, and I swallowed it all, night after night, burying the grief so deep. I thought it might poison me. There were days I wanted to scream, to drag her into the street and show the world what she really was, but that wasn't me, that wasn't how I fought. My revenge would come slow, quiet, and clean. But waiting was the hardest part. Every day felt like standing in the path of a moving train, knowing the collision was coming but unable to step aside. I clung to small routines, coffee in the morning, a run before dawn, scribbling notes on the plan I'd been crafting for months. Anything to keep the rage from boiling over into something I couldn't control. I hated myself for loving her. I hated the part of me that still wanted her to look at me the way she once did, to find the man she'd claimed was strong, dependable, irreplaceable. But that man was dead. She'd killed him with every lie she whispered to Ryan, every knowing glance she shared with Deborah when they thought I wasn't looking. Some nights, I caught my reflection in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back at me. The lines around my eyes had deepened, my mouth set in a hard, cold line, the warmth was gone. I wanted it back. I wanted to be someone I could respect again. I wanted the hurt to stop. I wanted Sophia to feel the twisting agony in my chest, the hollow ache that came from being tossed aside like a worn-out tool. And maybe, in the dark corners of my mind, I wanted her to come crawling back, begging forgiveness, sobbing out her apologies in front of the world. But forgiveness wasn't possible anymore. I thought of my father sometimes, the old bastard who'd taught me never to show weakness, who'd raised me on the idea that silence was strength, that real men took their punishment with a smile and never let the world see them bleed. He'd been wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about that. So I swallowed my anger, hid my pain, and waited. The suspense of what came next gnawed at me. Every day I checked my messages, waiting for news from the investigators I'd hired, for the final piece of evidence I needed to end her. Every time the phone buzzed, my heart slammed into my ribs, half in fear, half in vicious anticipation. When the call finally came, I almost didn't answer. My hands shook as I lifted the phone, voice rough as I spoke. "It's done," the man on the other end said. "We have everything you asked for. The files will be in your inbox tonight." I wanted to laugh, to scream, to cry. Instead, I closed my eyes and let the relief flood through me like cold water. The trap was set. Sophia would never see it coming. And when it fell, there would be no one left to catch her. 2 days before Sophia's big launch event, where she planned to unveil the project she'd stolen from me, I got a call from Deborah. Her voice trembled, raw fear pulsing beneath the practiced sweetness she usually wrapped around every word. "John," she whispered, "you need to listen. Sophia, she knows." My stomach tightened. "Knows what?" I asked, carefully steady. "About the files," Deborah breathed. "About the evidence you've been gathering. Ryan found out. He's been watching you. Sophia's furious. She's planning something, John. I heard them talking." I didn't wait for her to finish. I hung up and checked my messages, but the inbox was empty. No files, no confirmation, no promised delivery from the investigator. I dialed his number, straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. The rest of the day blurred as I retraced every step I'd taken in the past month, every phone call, every file transfer. I thought I'd been careful. I'd encrypted everything, used burners, hidden paper trails. But Sophia was meticulous when cornered. She must have suspected, planted someone close, turned one of my allies. I barely slept that night, pacing the apartment while Sophia stayed at Ryan's place, sending a single text, "Don't wait up." The next morning, I called Anna, the one person I trusted more than myself. "I need the backup," I said. "Everything, now." She didn't ask questions, she never did. Within the hour, she sent a single USB drive by courier. I held it in my hand like a lifeline, the final card I needed to play. But that night, Sophia came home early, looking calm, beautiful, dangerous. She dropped her purse on the counter and leaned back against it, crossing her arms. "John," she said softly, "I think you've forgotten who you're dealing with." I didn't answer. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You really thought I wouldn't notice? You really thought you'd just take everything from me and I'd stay quiet? The living room felt smaller, the air thicker, as she stepped closer. You can't win this. Ryan knows people. Deborah knows where your files are. You think you're clever, but you're not. You're just a bitter little man. I said nothing, heart hammering against my ribs, the USB in my pocket like a hidden blade. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me a single email, open and damning, my request to the investigator, the list of files I wanted, the price I'd paid. It's over, she whispered, voice soft and venomous. I've destroyed every copy. You have nothing. I stared at her, rage and panic clawing at my throat. You could have stayed quiet, she continued. You could have stayed in my shadow, and I would have given you a place, but you chose this. So now, you'll watch me win, and you'll watch Ryan stand beside me, and you'll have nothing. For the first time, I saw her clearly, not the woman I'd loved, not the partner I'd believed in, but a predator, a machine built to consume. She thought she'd cornered me, she thought I'd break. But in that moment, something snapped inside me. I smiled. Then let's see how good you really are, Sophia, I whispered. She blinked, thrown off for just a second. What did you say? I stepped closer until I could smell the perfume she'd worn for Ryan, a sharp floral scent that turned my stomach. I said, I murmured, I hope you're ready, because you've made this personal. She searched my face for weakness, confusion flickering in her eyes when she didn't find it. Good luck, I said softly, brushing past her into the hall. Because the USB in my pocket wasn't the only card I held. And if she wanted war, I'd bring it to her doorstep. I spent the next 48 hours in silence, methodically locking every piece of my plan into place. I knew Sophia would expect me to break, to grovel, to lash out blindly in a desperate bid to regain control. That was how Ryan operated, loud, reckless, confident until someone hit back harder. That wasn't me. I didn't go home. I didn't answer Sophia's calls or Deborah's frantic messages demanding to know where I was. I stayed in a small room above an old cafe Anna owned on the edge of town, surrounded by boxes and dust and silence. Every hour, I checked the USB again. Anna had made copies, backups of the backups, and hidden them in places even I didn't know. I trusted her, not because I was naive, but because Anna had never once lied to me. She had no reason to. The morning of Sophia's launch event dawned grey and wet. Rain lashed the windows as I dressed in a suit she'd bought me a year ago, back when we were still pretending at love. I tied the knot slowly, precisely, feeling each flicker of remembered pain solidify into something cold and steady in my chest. I arrived at the venue before the guests, nodding to the security guards who only barely hid their suspicion. Ryan had told them to watch me, no doubt. They thought I'd come here to beg. They didn't know I was here to end it. I stood in the back as the hall filled, Sophia's name on everyone's lips, praise dripping from every mouth. She swept through the crowd like a queen, Ryan at her side, Deborah hovering like a loyal hound just behind them. Sophia didn't see me until she stepped onto the stage. Her eyes scanned the crowd, bright with triumph, before landing on me in the shadows near the exit. For just a second, her mask slipped, her smile faltered, then it was back, flawless, glittering. Ladies and gentlemen, she purred into the microphone, today we celebrate not just a new product, but a new era, an era I'm proud to lead. The crowd cheered, cameras flashed, Deborah clapped wildly, eyes darting from Sophia to Ryan and back again. I stepped forward, slipping between two reporters until I stood just beneath the stage. Sophia saw me, her smile tightening. John, she said, voice smooth, amplified through the speakers. So glad you could join us. I didn't smile. Why don't you tell everyone how you really built this empire? I called out, voice flat. The crowd fell silent. Cameras pivoted toward me. Sophia's eyes hardened. John, she said coolly, this isn't the time. I pulled out the USB, holding it up between two fingers. Because if you won't, I will. Ryan moved first, jumping off the stage to grab me. I sidestepped him, shoving the USB into the waiting hands of a reporter with a press badge hanging around his neck. Everything she's stolen, I said loudly, my voice echoing through the hall. Every contract she forged, every account she hid, every lie she told to build this company. Proof is all there. Send it live. Ryan lunged again, but someone in the crowd screamed as the reporter plugged the USB into his laptop. Deborah was shouting, grabbing for the cord, but it was too late. The screens behind Sophia flickered, cutting from her sleek promotional video to a document dump so dense it blurred the eyes. Sophia's voice cracked as she screamed at the tech crew, demanding they cut the feed, but the reporters had seen enough. Cameras swung toward her, flashes blinding, questions shouted over each other in a rising cacophony. Is it true you funneled investor money into a private account? Who is Ryan to you? Were you hiding an affair while promising transparency? What do you say about the dozens of clients claiming fraud? Sophia backed away from the podium, eyes wide, hands shaking. Ryan grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the wings of the stage, but the crowd closed in. Deborah shrank against the backdrop, her phone in hand, staring at the flood of notifications already hitting the news feeds. I didn't move. I stood in the center of the chaos, breathing slowly, letting the noise wash over me. I felt nothing. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, imagined the satisfaction, the relief, the swell of triumph. But there was none of that, just emptiness, a cavern where something warm had once lived. Sophia's eyes met mine as Ryan dragged her past me. For a moment I thought she might spit at me, or slap me, or scream curses until her throat bled, but she didn't. Why? She whispered, voice ragged, barely audible over the chaos. Because you killed me, I said softly. Now it's your turn to learn what dying feels like. She opened her mouth, but Ryan pulled her away before she could answer. The crowd surged around me, reporters shouting, strangers grabbing my arms, asking for statements. I pushed past them, out the side door into the rain. I walked, letting the water soak my hair, my suit, washing away the sweat and stale air of the hall. My phone buzzed in my pocket, Anna, asking if I was okay. I didn't answer. I didn't feel okay. I felt raw, like my skin had been stripped away and every nerve left exposed. I should have felt victorious. But all I felt was tired. I reached the river by the old warehouse district and sat on the edge of the concrete embankment, staring at the muddy water churning below. I didn't know how long I sat there, letting the rain pour over me, dripping from my nose, my chin, soaking the seat of my trousers until I was numb with cold. Eventually, footsteps crunched behind me. I didn't turn as Anna sat down beside me, her umbrella shielding her from the downpour. Is it done? She asked softly. I nodded. Good, she murmured. You deserve peace now. I almost laughed at that. Peace, I echoed. Doesn't feel like peace. She was silent for a long time. Maybe not now, she said finally. But it will come, someday. Will it? I asked, voice hoarse. She rested her head lightly on my shoulder. Yeah, she whispered. Because you're not the monster they said you were. You didn't destroy them for power. You destroyed them because you needed to breathe again. That's not the same thing. I let out a shaky breath, watching steam rise from my skin in the cold rain. Doesn't feel any different, I whispered. It will, she said. You'll see. We sat in silence until the rain slowed, the sky lightening into a bruised gray dawn. My phone buzzed again, reporters, lawyers, strangers wanting statements, their curiosity like vultures circling fresh carrion. I turned it off. I didn't want to hear their voices, didn't want to explain myself, didn't want to justify my choices to a world that never cared when I was the one bleeding. I stood, joint stiff, helping Anna to her feet. Where to now? She asked. I looked out over the river, the water running dark and endless under the new morning light. Somewhere quiet, I said finally. Somewhere they can't follow. She squeezed my hand once, tight and warm, before letting go. Together, we walked away from the river, from the past, from the ghosts of everything Sophia had stolen. I didn't know what came next. I only knew the world would remember Sophia's fall, Ryan's betrayal, Deborah's cowardice, and maybe, if they looked closely enough, they'd see the quiet man standing in the shadows behind it all. But I didn't care. I was done living for their eyes, done begging for their scraps. I disappeared into the new dawn, silent, unseen, free. The day after Sophia's empire crumbled, the news cycle burned with her name. Reporters dug up every secret she'd hidden, every deal she'd forged, every whisper she'd turned into power. The world devoured her downfall, hungry for the spectacle of a queen dragged off her throne. I watched it all unfold from a small apartment overlooking the city skyline. Na's place, where the walls were covered in old paintings and the coffee always smelled warm and familiar. She stayed with me through the first day, fielding calls I refused to take, sending away visitors with practiced ease. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. The world kept turning, as it always did. Sophia tried to call me that morning. 12 missed calls, all from a number I once knew by heart. I didn't answer. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Deborah posted a long apology online, claiming she'd been manipulated, forced to cover up Sophia's crimes. No one believed her. The comments filled with hate, curses, threats. She'd vanished by noon, deleting every account she once flaunted like a badge of honor. Ryan tried to issue a statement, but it backfired instantly. Screenshots of his texts with Sophia leaked, showing him gloating about how easy it had been to fool me. He tried to spin it as lies, fakes, slander. No one bought it. By sunset, Sophia was alone. I didn't smile. I didn't toast her ruin. I just sat on the couch, staring at the wall, feeling the weight of everything I'd done settle into my bones. Anna made tea, placing the mug into my hands before sitting beside me. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. I swallowed hard. "No." "Then why do you look like you've lost something?" I took a slow breath, eyes closing. "Because I have. Even if she didn't deserve my loyalty, I gave it to her. Even if she was a monster, she was my monster, once. I can't pretend that part of me doesn't hurt." Anna was silent for a moment. Then she whispered, "You did what you had to do. The rest will take time." I nodded, but I didn't believe it. Not yet. That night, I wrote a message to the public, a final statement to close the chapter before the world twisted it into something else. I kept it simple, honest, brutal. To everyone watching, I did this not for revenge, but for the truth. Sophia built her world on lies and blood. I couldn't let it stand. No one should be worshipped for stepping on others. No one should call betrayal love. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Don't build your life on someone else's suffering. Because someday, someone like me will come along. And they won't shout, they won't threaten. They'll simply take everything back and leave you to choke on the ashes. I posted it and shut off my phone. Anna stayed beside me, saying nothing, offering only her presence. I didn't need words, I just needed to feel the world wasn't all jagged edges and sharp teeth. Sophia tried one last time to reach me the next morning. She showed up at Anna's building, hair tangled, eyes hollow, makeup smeared from crying. The guard buzzed me, his voice crackling through the intercom. "Mr. John, she says she won't leave until she sees you." Anna looked at me, eyebrows raised. I shook my head. Let her wait. For an hour, I listened to her voice outside, begging, pleading, screaming. She said she was sorry. She said she hadn't meant it. She said she'd been scared, pressured, manipulated. She blamed Ryan. She blamed Deborah. She blamed the world. She never blamed herself, and I never opened the door. Eventually, her voice cracked and broke. Eventually, the screaming stopped. Eventually, the guard called again to say she'd left, sobbing, stumbling down the sidewalk like a ghost with no one left to haunt. Anna squeezed my hand. "It's done," she whispered. But it wasn't done. Because in the quiet that followed, I felt the burn of every old scar, every memory that wouldn't fade. I remembered the late nights working on her plans, the whispered dreams, the warm weight of her head on my shoulder as we watched the city lights flicker in the dark. I remembered loving her, once. I let myself mourn it, let myself feel the jagged edges of that loss. Because I knew if I didn't, the bitterness would rot me from the inside out. That night, I stood on the balcony and recorded one final message, just for myself, just for the past I was burying. "Sophia, if you ever listen to this, know that I loved you once. I would have given you the world, but you poisoned it, turned every gift into a weapon, every kindness into leverage. You taught me to be cold, you taught me to be silent. I hope someday you understand that you made me this way." I deleted the recording after. Some ghosts didn't deserve shrines. Anna found me on the balcony, eyes red but dry, and hugged me hard, her voice trembling. "You're free now," she whispered. I didn't answer. But in the hush of the night, under the bruised purple sky, I felt something crack open in my chest. A breath I hadn't taken in years, a space where something new might grow. Someday. To anyone out there reading this, wondering if revenge is worth it, if silence is strength, if betrayal should be met with mercy, I say this. You owe nothing to the people who bleed you dry. You owe nothing to the ones who smile while stabbing you in the back. Walk away if you can. But if you can't, if they take and take and take until there's nothing left of you but dust, then stand up. Gather the pieces they shattered, and use them to build the blade you cut them down with. Not out of cruelty, not out of hate, but because the world only respects those who don't beg for scraps. Because justice sometimes comes quietly. Because peace isn't given. It's taken. And someday, when the weight lifts and the air tastes clean, you'll realize you never needed them to begin with. You'll realize your silence was the sharpest weapon of all. You'll realize you survived. And survival is the sweetest victory of all. I turned away from the city lights, away from the ghosts at my back, and walked inside. Anna met me with a tired smile, pulling me close, her warmth seeping into my bones. I whispered one final promise to myself, never again would I let someone steal my light, never again would I hand over my power, my faith, my heart to someone who didn't deserve it. Sophia's world burned behind me, ashes drifting into the sky. But ahead, the road was empty, clean, waiting for me to claim it. And this time, I wasn't afraid. I had lost everything once. Now, I was free. And in the end, that was the ultimate revenge. Because some people can't stand to see you walk away stronger than they ever imagined.